Hello and welcome to the Recursive podcast. Next, we welcome an experienced engineer and a pioneer in the computer software industry in Bulgaria. Boris Simandoff has more than 20 years in the field of software design, code optimization, and distributed network systems. He has also exited to an American company. He has been managing big projects for award-winning Chaos Group as well. Boris is currently serving as a general manager at Via Bulgaria. Boris Simandoff, welcome on the Recursive podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It's an amazing background that you have in the IT sphere. Being a part of Chaos Group is something that people, I think, are so far away from winning Oscar with their companies, yet Oskar and Emmy as well. You were part of this amazing and very successful Bulgarian team as well. But what led you into technologies?
Well, that's really back in the days. It's a very interesting story, by the way. I kind of fell in love with computers and technology when I was 10 years old. We were together with my family, my father and my mother, in Canary Islands, and I don't want to say the year, right? Actually, it was 1986. And that was the year of, the years of Apple II and the Bulgarian Pravets 8.2. And then we have the Pravets 8.c, maybe, I don't know how to say in Bulgarian or maybe in English. But then I fell in love in a machine that you can program and create, this kind of a really interesting graphics and maybe games. And I spent like 5 hours in that shop just watching that thing, and then I cried to my father and I said, no, I want that thing. This is the only thing in my life that I wanted. And of course I got it. And then when we got back to Bulgaria, I started reading almost everything that my hands can touch. There was almost no information. There was like 10 books how to program in Pravets 8.2 or something like that, 82. And that was assembler and also basic, and that's how everything started. I don't know, it is just some kind of a root love that is that you want to program that thing and control also the machine and create virtual worlds. Actually, this is what it's all about.
Your career in IT started long before the word startup ever landed in Bulgaria. How would you describe the evolution of this software industry here in Bulgaria?
Our first startup, so back in the days, maybe it was 1995 until 1999, around 2000, there wasn't software industry. Right? Even though our country was extremely prepared for the future that was going to come, because we're living in a exponential technology future. Everything that we touch today has some kind of a technology inside. Even the paper become an iPad, right? Or wherever, our watches and everything around us. I think like 20 or 30% of maybe even more today, in the world economy is somehow connected to software and also hardware and technology. But back to the question, there were a couple of software companies. I was part of the software team at Datix. It's a company that they're dealing with cash registers. It was super fun, and then we started our first startup. It's called Bravo Group. It was 1999, by the way. And the word startup wasn't even invented there, at least between us, the community. We just created a company to create a software with my partner, Boriana Racheva. And we created the first software company and her father for value at risk. And we sell the software to big German banks. Yes, it was in 1999, 2000. We were young and very brave. And the company then we sold the company to another French big financial company. And now this entire company is part of FactSet, and they have office here in Bulgaria, and that's it.
How did you see the stages that the Bulgarian industry of in regards to startups and software developed
moment,
at
you
the
mean?
time? No, how did it? What were the stages that went through? First, because you said we were prepared, but
Oh yeah, so first of all, we had no idea what exactly we have to do in order to be successful. We had no idea. We just have to create the software and then show it to somebody and try to sell it and stuff like that. We at the beginning we invested our own money into the company. There were no one that you can go like a venture capitalist. Even the banks, they had no idea what is a software and or a software company, and it was really hard to start. But thanks God, we were young. Usually when you were like 20, 21, you don't eat much, right? And you spend 20 hours out of 24 in front of the computer. So you need just a computer and somebody to pay the electricity. And we were like a small team, maybe five people at the beginning. Then the company grew to, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 people. But we did couple of successful sales. At the same time, for example, my very dear friend Peter Mitte from Chaos Group, who is the founder of Chaos, he founded together with Vlado Koivazov. Peter and we were friends from university, from Faculty of Mathematics and Informatics. Also, we've been together in DATEX. But the thing is that at the same time, he created Chaos. And for almost 20 years, Chaos Group has 0 credits. So that's another interesting, way of thinking, that you can create extremely big business without even touching venture capital.
is there something that's still missing in the Bulgarian startups in order to scale and go truly global? We are still missing unicorns here.
Oh yes, and it will happen definitely. It's coming, by the way, and we have good companies. Yeah, definitely. One of extremely important thing that especially when you see the capital in countries like Europe, by the way, is not even a good example. But the capital in United States and also Israel, for example, is extremely, extremely different. We're talking about billions of dollars that are invested in startups every month, not years. We don't have that here. And we don't have enough people. Also, education should be in a totally different way. Education is extremely important, and we're still not there. We have some ideas. Hopefully, in the future, things will be changed in a good way for the country.
So you're thinking that we're lacking education in order for and funding for our startups
Absolutely.
to be.
I think the biggest problem is education. It's even today, the market in Bulgaria, you go to any kind of a job platform, you open the current job ads, and you're gonna see, I think, at least between 5 to 10,000 open positions. Even at VIA, I don't know how much, maybe we have at least between 50 to 70 open positions at the moment. And we're looking for the right talent. And it's very, very, very hard to find.
You've already mentioned that education is an important part of developing the great talent that we need, not only to have the unicorn, to have a better environment here in Southeastern Europe, but what are your advices for people that can influence or are basically on the track of becoming software engineers to become a really good talent?
Okay, so there are like 2 aspects of that question. First, everyone can see enormous amount or demand, it's rather better to say demand for engineers. And I believe that will be in the next 5, maybe 10 to 15 years, even more. Of course, the development of artificial intelligence in our area will definitely change some things, but I still believe that we will and that humanity will need a lot more engineers than what we have at the moment. And how can we produce? Of course, with education. Of course, with way better education. I think all the programs that we used to have at school, and now I'm not sure that they're back in the school. My kids, for example, they're learning how to write Word. What the hell is that, right? That's not right. That's not okay. They know how to work with computers quite well. The real question is learn them to do at least basic programming tasks. This is very important, and that should start even when you're like third grade, maybe fourth grade, fifth grade, and stuff like that, and then gradually you move forward. And the people that are real talents, they will get it. They will get it. That's it. That's the only way. We have to scale. The only way to scale, we have to have more people. And the things that we're doing is not that complex. So it's possible.
You have a very, very successful career so far. Started as a developer, like a software engineer, and went all the way into you're now like a general manager of a company and being part of amazing company like Chaos Group. What were the steps on your own path of becoming better in your craft that you think are underestimated by people that are going forward for IT?
First of all, I don't think I'm very successful, but thank you. There are way more successful people in the world. I'm just trying to be the best of what I'm doing, or at least trying, right? So how? I think our job, what we do as programmers and maybe software engineers, because there is big difference between programmer and software engineer. I can explain that later. One of the most important thing is that we need to love our work, our job. A lot of people are thinking like, oh, okay, those guys are like, sitting in front of the computer for 10 hours per day or 8 hours, whatever, some of them 16 hours. That's not that hard, right? It's not like being on the field or somewhere else or even driving a taxi. And I respect every single job on the world. But at the same time, this job is extremely hard. It's very, very hard. So the only way to do it good is to love it. If you don't love your job and you just come from 9 to 5, also the results are not going to be crazy good. Our job is very, very creative. It's not just, doing some things and you go home and then you forget about it. Sometimes I need a couple of hours after a very exhausted day to come back in the same state of consciousness that I can even talk with, let's say, people on topics which are different than programming. It's a fact. So in order to be good in that profession, you have to love it. That's the only way, because you have to read a lot. You have like maybe 60 to 80% of the time, engineers or software engineers, including me, I'm reading new information, trying new stuff, and so on and so on. That's the only way to be on top of the wave. And
yeah, we've heard the story when you fell in love in the Canary Islands with that machine. So hopefully more people will be looking for the things that they love doing. How did you switch from loving the job as like developing software on this end into managing people? How did you learn to go through this very difficult for some position?
So yes, managing people is the only way, again, in our profession, again, to scale. Or if you want to do something big, you cannot program everything by yourself. It's just not possible. Even though in our profession, I usually say that the good engineers could be like 100 times better than the average. and that's one of the only. That's a good example of also when you have a good engineer in the team, that you can create some miracles are happening. And it's obvious that the good technology usually is not distinguishable than miracle. It just works. You don't have to think about how it works because somebody did it. And the engineers are. What was the question actually? Because I was thinking about three different things at the moment.
The question is,
the core
it's
question.
very hard for people to switch.
So I think the only way, if you want to do something big, whatever it is, the only way is to do it with a team. That's obvious, right? And you need to take care about the people that you're working with. And maybe because I started, I don't know, 1999, I was like 20 years old, and being founder, CTO of the company, and then immediately start working with people as a team. It's just very natural to me to work with a team and to lead a team and stuff like that.
And now being in a position that you're managing a team, that you're basically creating your own teams, but is there good practices for managing people when you're coming from their position? Yeah, you have these software developers and you become their manager.
I think one of the most important things is to listen to your people. It's not only and to listen well, give them create some kind of a framework, and give them the freedom. It's kind of cliche that thing that I'm saying, but it's working, and I've seen it how it's working. Don't say we gotta do the things in only that way and that way and that way. No, just leave people to create the stuff on their own. Don't tell them how, tell them what to do. And they will create. Of course, you can guide them, you can be part of the whole process. But what you have to define as a good manager is just the framework, and then leave the people be free inside that framework. And that's the only way those people. Also, you have to provide them ability to grow and to learn new stuff. Also, you gotta think in our profession. You always have to think about innovation. You have to have some kind of a time for innovations, and the only way to innovate is through experiments. So sometimes. I think everybody knows, but I love it, the concept of 2080 at Google. Most of the greatest software products in the world, including Gmail, was created on those Fridays. Free time. You still work for the company, but you work on something that is your passion. It's a little bit different than the project that you work from Monday to Thursday, let's say. So those kind of things are extremely important. This is the only way to innovate, to create the future.
Few months ago, I had a conversation with Alex Popov, back in the day, the team lead of Uber Engineering.
Yes, I know.
And he said, I love servant leadership. And he was just describing this, and you're describing it now with your own words, how important it is to take care of the people and not to give them tasks, but to let them do the things that they love, because you previously mentioned. So this is amazing. Would you define your leadership style as servant leadership, or what would be your words for describing it?
It's very hard for me. Maybe you have to ask the people that I'm working with. But I would say I'm kind of liberal, definitely. I don't want to, it's definitely not the having the stick on my right hand, and I try to avoid as much as possible to correct the people and just leave them produce as much as possible of what they think is the right way to do the things.
But how do you measure the job well done in the team when you're like not micromanaging?
The different ways, of course. Micromanagement is not working. Definitely, it's not the right way. Micromanagement, everyone should run away. But how do you measure? If you have KPIs or some kind of OKRs, is obvious, right? So you have some kind of a system that you can measure the results. If we're talking about software, it's very easy also. Performance of the software, stability, reliability, and many other things. If the software is created in a way that is bug-free as much as possible, it never can be bug-free, but if it's very stable and it runs in production 24/7, and all the metrics that we have are good, then obviously the engineers have done a great job. And if we're talking about the HR team or the talent team, and they're hiring and helping hiring good talents, also they do great job.
Awesome. This is a great way of putting it, not into like hours put in, but is it working? Is it effectively working, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the IT industry, the biggest driver for people to join it is basically the payroll at the moment. How are these preferences changing now with the post-COVID times? And it's not that post-COVID, but basically now, during and post the initial lockdown phase, where everyone was wondering what's going on.
So is it about the COVID or the or
it's
the
about the payroll as the main
that's the
driver.
Main driver. Okay. What I see in the industry, not only in Bulgaria but everywhere in the world, it's because of the huge demand, salaries are going up. It's definitely, and not only salaries, everything. Even at VIA, we have almost everything that we can think of. We have it like a perk or something. Free food, free drinks, free everything. It's just, be creative. You don't have to think about the money, right? Money is here. You have it. Just do your job. Unfortunately, sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work, because it's not about paying a lot of money to very junior people. I think it's more important to keep the culture of the company and the culture of the team in a strong, solid shape. What does it mean? It means that definitely we're living at the moment. That's another idea that I have. We're living in some kind of a balloon, right? It's crazy, and for many people it's good, but it's crazy how high are the engineering or software salaries in Bulgaria compared to, they're very close to, let's say, European salaries or USA salaries. Actually, in Bulgaria, I think because of a better taxation that we have, or lower taxation, not better, I think most of the well-paid engineers are living better life. I mean, the pocket money are way higher than the equal roles or the equal, let's say, positions in most of the European countries. And a lot of Bulgarians which are doing the same profession in Europe or even USA, I see a lot of people are coming back to Bulgaria at the moment. One of the things that is, a lot of people will say, okay, but that cannot continue, right? You cannot increase the salaries all the time. I don't have an answer for that. Maybe yes, but maybe no. If we increase the number of talent or the people that we can get, then the salaries will position somewhere, or at least they will be balanced in a better way. It is crazy what we can see in Silicon Valley at the moment, and the salaries there are constantly going up. We can definitely see the trends in Israel. Salaries in Israel at the moment is almost very, very close to the salaries levels in Silicon Valley, and they will bypass them very soon. So because of demand.
Yeah. The problem that I saw with my own hands, with my own eyes, the problem that I saw with my own eyes in Silicon Valley is that the rent of my friend that's living and working in Apple there
It's going
is
up.
amazing.
Yes.
It's like something that
cost
people,
of living is going up also.
so it's there is some kind of a balance in the system. But
there is another thing there in Silicon Valley. Randomly, if you have a C++ program, if you're an engineer in something and it's in your mind, and we were joking with a couple of friends, and you're in somewhere in Silicon Valley, random place, and you just stop a random car and you ask the question that you have as a problem, there is a big chance the guy here to answer your problem, randomly. It's not the same in Bulgaria, right? Because maybe 80-90% of the people in Silicon Valley, they're in this this area. Industry. Sorry.
Yeah, a question here is there a way, like COVID, for example, like a black swan, that's changing the perception of people in regards to values, like mission or purpose? Is it like something that changes the trend? For example, okay, I have enough money. Now there is a huge problem, and let's use my knowledge in like health tech or startup, something that's working and helping people.
I don't think exactly the money is the most important thing in our industry at the moment, because there is a lot of money. I think there is something that is what COVID changed in the industry, definitely, and I see it, is first of all, working from home, 24/7, being at home. Of course, during the lockdown, everyone has to be at home, right? Now, the software industry continues to work from home. Even at VIA, and not only in VIA, I have a lot of friends in the industry in Bulgaria, maybe 10% of the people are back to the offices. And what is happening, and we've seen it, a lot of psychological problems with those guys. Panic attacks and many other things, and no one is talking about that in the industry. Because the work from home is even, like, the load to the engineers is even bigger. Because, okay, you don't have to spend like 1 hour commuting. Okay, what you do? You work. You get up from the bed, maybe do some kind of a bathroom stuff, and then immediately sit down in a computer, because you have more time. Most of the guys are doing exactly that thing. And now I'm pushing in our office as much as possible people to come to the office. First, you're missing the belonging, staying at home all the time and working from home all the time, and seeing people only on a screen is totally different than the way we're talking with you now, right? We could have do this podcast on Zoom or Google Meet, but no, right? Because I still believe talking to people face to face is 100 times better than doing through Zoom. And I don't have an answer yet, and I see, and we have to educate ourselves, the leaders and also managers, how to keep the culture, the right culture for the companies, how to keep the belonging of our people being part of what we do, of our mission. And they still, because I don't think the future will make it, in the future, everyone will go back to the office. No, it's done. We're living in a hybrid mode that anyone can come to the office, but I see the new offices more like a hub or hubs for communication face to face with people. Even our new office at VIA was designed in that way in mind, that anyone can come at any time. Maybe they can just chat without even laptops or something like that, like workspaces to exchange ideas, to see the people face to face, and then go back at home, work 3 days, and then come back and stuff like that.
You're mentioning the VIA office in Sofia. It's R&D center.
Yeah.
That was basically built here. But why did VIA choose Bulgaria for this location?
Again, there is a story behind it. And I'll not tell you the full story, because it's a little bit of funny story. It was everything started when the founders of the company, Daniel and Oren. So it's an American company. Daniel is the CEO of VIA Transportation Global company, headquartered in New York. and Oren Shuval, our founder, is in Tel Aviv, and we have the biggest R&D center of the companies in Tel Aviv, about 400 people or something like that. And like 2.5 years ago, they started to think about expanding the R&D team. And at the same time, one of my best friends started at VIA in New York. He moved from, his name is Yuri, he moved from Google to VIA. And just with connections, they started talking about that. And he advised the CEO and Oren that there is opportunity in Bulgaria. So we got connected, and this is how everything happened.
Yeah, because you're a person that basically had an exit before.
Yeah.
And how do you switch from like being like exiting a company and starting something new under the CEO?
It was very hard for me. So I spent like 10 years after the exit. I spent like 10 years in house, and for me, Chaos was a family. Was very close with everyone, even with the founders, and it was a very, very tough decision. I was thinking about doing that step more than, I don't know, 6, maybe 8 months, which is not
saying yes to VIA.
Saying yes to VIA, yes. And then I decided, everything else is history. But September 2019, we opened the office here, and I started move from Chaos with just a laptop and a desk, and that feeling that you start something new, and it's no one around, and there is a company there, and you have no idea what. It felt like a startup again for me.
And now you're 80 people.
Yeah, 80 plus.
80 plus people, amazing.
The pipeline is always, moving.
I really like this part of entrepreneurship that's like, okay, there's a challenge. I'll take it head on. And so it has been working quite well. And you are putting Sofia basically on more or less in the same line as like America and Israel, which is the country with second largest number of inventions. Like
maybe yes.
Patents, I think, in the world,
yeah.
which is amazing innovative environment. But how would you think that Bulgaria can attract more international companies, more funding, and more companies to build their R&D centers? Because I know another company that has a Israeli background in US, like SMS Bump, who are also having R&D center.
Yeah. To be honest, in Bulgaria, there are a lot of Israeli background companies in the software industry. Maybe there is a reason behind it. Definitely, the answer of the question is we need more people. It's obvious how to attract. We at the moment we cannot hire fast enough in order to fulfill the business needs of VIA. With all the marketing, with everything that we are doing, and now we are trying to expand VIA Bulgaria to all the countries around Bulgaria. We have communications with Greece, with Macedonia, with Serbia, with Romania, in order to get more talent, because we cannot even find the talent here. So what is the answer for the question? We have to develop talent. That's the only way to attract more. I mean, no one imagine Google or company like Facebook, Google, Amazon, they don't have offices in Bulgaria. Why? Because we are not enough. The people that are in the industry are not enough. If Google gonna open an office here, they would need at least 2,000 people in order to make sense to have an office, engineering office, big engineering office. This is exactly the office of Google in Israel. They have office in Tel Aviv, 2,000 people. Amazon has an office in Tel Aviv, 2,000 people. That's the normal for big companies. This is the normal team size. And I don't know how they're gonna create that where they're gonna get it. We need to create new talent. That's the only way, through education.
Through education, awesome. We are going back to square one with education and making
Nothing
it
else.
work.
Nothing else.
Yeah,
nothing else will help.
Which is it's quite sad, because we can't directly influence it, but I'm sure there are ways, like great stories, like role models, like Telerik Mafia and the people that are basically showing that Bulgaria
even the government is not doing enough. And I would say for the last 30 years in Bulgaria, the education and everyone is seeing it is going down instead of going up. I think the private sector is putting a lot of effort, and everyone is investing a lot of money in order to create this kind of training programs or schools and stuff like that. So, and most of them are free, by the way. If you're somebody that you want to change the career and there is a big opportunity for you to create a good, decent lifestyle, because having a average salary between 3 maybe to 5 or even 6,000 level, I don't know a lot of professions in Bulgaria that you can get this amount of money that easy, right? No. Yeah. And with a simple training, maybe you can spend 6 or 12 months of training. In a couple of years, you're gonna get this kind of money, and those money will go only up.
Because you're mentioning that you're involved, like improving yourself as a specialist, so it's only normal to the salary to be raising with your skills and abilities. Yeah, you said that you're looking into other countries from Southeastern Europe for their technology specialists. Do you see any like good practices in the countries around that are helping their local ecosystems, or can be helping Bulgarian tech ecosystem or like software engineering that we can?
So we're looking. It doesn't mean we start working. What I see is that demand is also huge everywhere, and definitely the levels of compensations, for example, and also skill set in countries like Romania is definitely higher than Bulgaria. And if you go to Ukraine, which is obviously a huge hub, because the numbers are obvious. Like in Bulgaria, we have between 30,000 to 40,000 statistically people that are in this industry. And we have 250,000 developers. That's 5 times, more than 6 times more in Ukraine. And we have at least 2 times or 3 times more in Romania. I don't have the right numbers for Serbia, but everything is about the number of people. And if you want to create, like, imagine Viennese like 1,000 people, definitely we cannot scale whatever we do and hire 1,000 people in the next 1 year, in 12 months or 24. So you have to scale in a different way. Poland is again a very good country with very good knowledge. Most of the engineers there are very good. Again, how? Education, nothing else. We need more people. There is a huge demand, and that's why the salaries are going up. Until the AI will change everything. Because I don't believe people are extremely bad engineers or programmers, not engineers, programmers, including me, even though I'm in that industry not 20, maybe 30 years, even more. And I believe I'm extremely bad programmer. And I believe that the machine someday will change everything. So there will be a machine that can talk way better to the other machine or something like that, instead of people, trying to program the machines. Because if you zoom out, we're good to communicate to people, not to the machine. And at the moment that will change, then everything will be different.
Tell me a bit more about the R&D center VIA here in Bulgaria. What are you guys building? What part of the product you're developing? The whole company is based on software regarding public transportation. Can you just give us a couple of words?
Yeah, so Bulgarian office was started again 2 years ago, and the focus was to extend the R&D capabilities of the core R&D center in Tel Aviv. At the moment, the teams in Bulgaria are working almost in all different verticals of VIA, and including extremely high compute-intensive tasks. we are working on some of the core, extremely important components of the VIA infrastructure. Also, we have a very good team of DevOps engineers, very good team of also QA guys and everything. It's like different. How to say, if the infrastructure of VIA is like a puzzle, the Bulgarian team is working on a lot of pieces of that puzzle, and that makes the work extremely interesting. So it's not like we are not owning just one vertical. We are part of multiple verticals, and the teams can collaborate also with our Tel Aviv engineers and colleagues. They can collaborate also with the Bulgarian teams quite well, the other Bulgarian teams, and it's callful, I would say, in a good way.
Yeah. What's your vision about the evolution based on the technology that you're developing, and what will happen in the following years? Because now,
by the way, that's back to the question why did you open the office here? And I would say why. I think VIA is in the edge of changing how people are moving around the world, and we have the position in the next 2 to 3, maybe 5 years, with the evolution and development of autonomous vehicles and also electrical vehicles. Everything will be changed, and VIA will have the biggest possible impact on the transportation in the world. Even at the moment, what we're doing, we're the biggest one in the world. The way we're doing it, we are basically inventing a transit tech industry at the moment as we're talking. And I believe in the next 3 to 5 years, so many things will change for good, not for bad. And we will be part of that thing. So the impact on the humanity will be huge. That's why I believe most of the engineers in the Bulgarian office are coming, and they're attracted to what VIA is doing. The purpose is what is important, because they can get the same salaries everywhere. It's not only the money. Actually, the money is the second question.
So you're basically saying that people are choosing to work for companies with mission and, of course, developing innovations. As
young people are mostly focused on mission and impact, nothing else, because they can get the same salaries everywhere. Yeah, okay, with 10-20% difference, that's normal, but that's not the big difference. It's more important to know what you're doing, that your work will mean something huge tomorrow in the future. This is what is important.
This means that it's not all lost because of education. You have moral compasses in people that are guiding them towards their lives in a better way.
Yes.
Which is great to have.
Yes.
Awesome. We are heading towards the end of our conversation, but for the people that have never used VIA or any of the software that you're doing, would you please explain in a couple of words what's a transit software and how does a transit software came to life?
So it's a very basic idea, at the same time extremely powerful when it scales. I'll explain it very easy. What VIA is providing is a seat in a public transit vehicle for you using your mobile phone. That easy. Instead of, what we're trying to do is moving the public transport to the people. Instead of people going to the public transit, we have virtual stops. Instead of going to a specific stop and you just wait the Bridget bus to come in about 35 minutes and it has like a delay of another 30 minutes and you wait 1 hour. No, you go out of home, or even from home, you press a button the way you can call a taxi. But instead of getting a taxi, you're going to get a vehicle, which is like, we used to have this before in Bulgaria. It's called marsrutka. Mm-hmm. Which is actually a Russian. Is it Russian? I don't know if it's Russian, but it's marsrutka. But imagine on-demand dynamic vehicles or buses, shuttles that can go everywhere in the world, everywhere in the city, way smaller than the big buses. And at the same time, you call it with a press of a button and say, I want to go there. Okay, and you have it. In about 1 minute, it will come. It will be cheap. It will be fast. Everyone will be happy.
Awesome.
Until we get to the moment of autonomous vehicles. And then everything will be changed again for good. Because you're gonna call and there will be no driver, and there will be different, sizes of, cells of transport vehicles or transport types of vehicles. They could be like 2 seats, 4 seats, 6 seats, any kind of seats. And it will come extremely fast. There will be no stopping cars. Private cars will go down, by the way. No one will have a private car in the next 10 years.
Okay, this was about to be my next question. Is how close are we to this moment of time?
It's happening at the moment, because we're living in an exponential future. Most of the things that we're talking today and we are predicting the future, they will happen faster. And we're very, very inaccurate in prediction, how we predict the future, because we are not because we don't know how to think exponentially. We like human race, and the way our mind is set is to think and learn linearly. At the same time, we're living in exponential future of technologies is growing exponentially. And that's why everything that we think will happen in 10 years or 20 years will happen earlier, way earlier. And this is the way of everything that you think that may happen in the future. One of the trainings for exponential thinkers and exponential leaders in the world is think that will happen faster. Most of the things that we're talking about, they will happen faster, way faster. And yes, there will be no drivers in the cars tomorrow. Even in Bulgaria, because I'm talking with so many people in Bulgaria, no, that will never happen in Bulgaria. Maybe in 50 years. No, guys, that will happen in less than 5 years, even in Bulgaria.
This is something that I need to get my head around, because it's like being raised here, and such a significant change is something that's
that will change our cities in a so huge way. Imagine Sofia without cars. Imagine it. Like even today, when we came here, we couldn't, park the car for 15 minutes, right? At the same time, if the car was autonomous, it would just drop us. We'll come wherever we are, and the car will go away. Maybe we'll pick up somebody else, right? And you're even not going to have a private car, because you would not need a private car. And that's a huge change in our lives.
Yeah. I remember 2 years ago when the lockdown hits and there are no cars.
Exactly, yeah. It was nice. It was nice. Calm. It was clean. It was, cities should go back to the people. Because our cities now are for the cars, not for the people. Awesome. I would like to live imagine everyone is living in our South Park in Sofia. Imagine the entire city to be like that. It's very cool.
Awesome. We are now heading to our final question for our great interview. Thank you, Bobby, for being here today.
My pleasure.
What would you want to be remembered for?
Huge believer in the bright future of humanity. I don't know, many things that are happening, and the development of AI, it's obvious that things will change. But I think everything will be changed for good, and I don't know exactly. It's a very hard question. We'll see. I don't have an answer.
Boris Simandoff, thank you for being here today on the Recursive podcast and sharing your vision about the brightest future that is coming, and it's just around the corner. Thank you for sharing all your thoughts on leadership and development, education as well. And I really hope that our listeners and viewers on the Recursive podcast have had just a golden nugget here and there for their own better futures.
I hope so. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
See you again. Bye.
See you in the next episode of the Recursive podcast.
In the next episode of the Recursive podcast, Georgi talks to the co-founder of the space tech company Endurosat, Raichu Raichev.
I think being entrepreneurial is a mindset rather than necessarily you having to create your own company. And I think you can be entrepreneurial in any environment and in any shape or form and context that you live in, as long as you have the capability to really objectively impact the lives of others in a positive way, either be by creation of an interesting product or a service, improve something existing, or do some paradigm change in a way that you see fit, and basically have the audacity, I would say, to shape the world around you, whether small or big one, in a way that you want it to be.
And if you are just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.